Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something pretty unique.
Okay.
It's called the Ligat Show, and it kind of combines storytelling, Israeli culture, and just like a whole bunch of different topics. It's a really cool project, but there's this like challenge that kind of comes with it.
Yeah.
How do we get people excited about paying for written content,
Yeah.
especially like online?
It really is an interesting sort of paradox, you know? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
We pay for music subscriptions like Spotify and video subscriptions like Netflix.
Right.
But when it comes to written content, everybody just expects it to be free.
So what exactly is the Ligat Show? Can you
Sure.
give us like a picture of it?
Imagine like a tapestry, you
Right.
know? But this tapestry is woven from like Layat's life experiences, Israeli culture, and like all sorts of topics like
Yeah.
music and food, history, you know, even like entrepreneurship.
Uh-huh.
It's a story that unfolds in both like written and audio form, and it's released in these sets over a few days.
Okay.
So it's designed to be like digestible, even for like super busy people.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But we live in this world where everyone wants instant gratification, you know?
Right.
Why this unique approach? What's the thinking behind it?
Well, Lachit knows this is a challenge, right? Like she's aware of it.
Yeah.
And she often finds herself explaining like what Substack is
Oh, really?
instead of, you know, like diving into the content she creates.
Wow.
And this kind of shows this bigger problem that not just individual creators face, but like the media in general is dealing with.
You mean like newspapers and magazines that are struggling to move into the digital world?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even organizations like Wikipedia that rely on like volunteers, they're feeling the pressure too.
Wow.
You know, the internet, it's amazing because it made information so accessible to everyone,
Right.
but it's kind of devalued the act of actually writing.
It's like we've forgotten that someone actually sat down and wrote all those articles and blog posts and stories we just read so quickly online.
Yeah, exactly. You know, in the beginning, there was just so much free content everywhere
Yeah.
that it created this idea that online content should be free.
Right.
And that impacts how we value like the effort and the expertise behind it.
That's true.
Yeah, like look at The Guardian.
Oh, yeah.
They're like a respected news outlet. They have a huge online audience,
Yeah.
but they basically rely on donations to stay afloat.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do we change that mindset? Like,
Right.
Leah proposes this idea of structuring individual content budgets.
Mm-hmm.
What does that even mean? Like, what does that look like?
So think about it as like a
Okay.
conscious way to decide how you spend money on content.
Okay.
So instead of debating like whether we should pay at all,
Right.
we start talking about how much we want to allocate to different types of content.
Oh, I see.
Like news, reference materials, creative writing,
Okay.
all those things.
Yeah, so instead of just going to free by default, it's about
Yeah,
making a choice.
exactly.
Yeah.
If we're already discussing how much to spend, it means we've accepted that we need to pay. And that's a huge shift in how we think about online content.
That is a really powerful point.
Yeah.
But how do we get there? How do
Yeah.
we, like, educate people?
Well, that's where collaboration comes in.
Okay.
You see, investors, they don't like to educate the market,
Right.
but content providers have this amazing opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if all the major media outlets got together
Oh, wow.
and used their reach to change how we value written content.
Okay.
Like, think about what happened with the music and video industry.
With Spotify and Netflix.
Yeah,
They basically taught us to pay for stuff that used to be free.
exactly.
But what's different about written content? Why hasn't that happened with articles and blogs?
That's a great question. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
part of it might be that there's just so much free written content out there.
Right.
It's hard to make people see why they should pay for it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, and maybe there's like the psychological thing going on too, where we just feel like words on a screen are less valuable than music or videos.
It's interesting because Liat's work is so much more than just words on a screen.
Right.
She brings in her own personal stories and cultural insights, historical context.
Mm-hmm.
It's really captivating.
And that's exactly the kind of content we risk losing if we don't fix this problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Layat's background with her MBA and her experience in tech,
Yeah.
it lets her see this from both a creative and a business point of view.
Right.
She gets why we need to make a strong case for the value of her work.
Yeah, that's really important.
It is.
I mean,
yeah.
it's a tough balance, right?
It is.
Like, we want information to be accessible thanks to the internet, but we also need to make sure creators are getting paid for their work.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about individual creators like Liat,
Mm-hmm.
you know. This affects the future of journalism,
Mm-hmm.
research, Even just our shared knowledge.
Yeah.
Like if we don't value written content,
Right.
what does that say about how we value knowledge itself?
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
We can't expect to have good journalism or in-depth research,
Uh,
or even platforms like Wikipedia if we aren't willing to support the people who make them.
yeah.
It's all about sustainability in the end.
We talked about Spotify and Netflix and how
Yeah.
they changed consumer behavior.
Right.
What can content creators and media outlets learn from that?
Well, they understood that people needed a good reason to pay.
Okay.
Instead of just choosing the free option,
Yeah.
they focused on convenience,
Right.
exclusive content, and just making the whole experience really easy.
And with music streaming, they solved this big problem of piracy by offering a legal and affordable way to listen to music.
Right.
They basically saved an industry that was struggling to adapt to the internet.
Exactly.
And that's where collaboration comes in again, right?
Yes.
Like individual creators like Lycan,
Yeah.
they're leading the way. But they need help from the bigger media outlets to really change things. It's funny because we're so used to competing for attention online. But here it seems like working together is necessary for survival.
Yeah, and it's not just about surviving. It's about thriving.
Right.
Imagine a future where you can easily find high-quality written content,
Yeah.
where creators get paid fairly, and where people understand the value of what they're reading.
That sounds great.
It does.
That's definitely a future worth fighting for.
It is.
But let's go back to Liat and the Liat Show.
Okay.
What makes her work stand out? We talked about her unique storytelling style, but what about the content itself?
Well, she has this incredible ability to weave together different ideas and topics into one big story. Like, her personal experiences become a way for us to explore bigger themes.
Okay.
Like Israeli culture, history, music, food,
Yeah.
even tech and entrepreneurship.
Wow, so it's like a personal journey that everyone can relate to.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
She invites us to see the world through her eyes and experience Israeli culture in a really personal and insightful way.
And her writing style is so engaging.
Yes.
She blends personal stories with history, culture, even philosophy.
Yeah.
It's like this constantly changing tapestry that always surprises you.
Exactly.
It sounds like something truly unique.
Is
And I love how she uses different formats, like written stories and podcast episodes.
Yeah.
Creates this really multidimensional experience.
It shows how creative she is and how well she understands how to connect with audiences online.
Right.
She's not just telling a story. She's creating a whole world that we can be a part of.
That's amazing.
It is.
So if someone wants to experience the Liat Show for themselves, how can they do that?
Well, Liat offers both free and paid subscriptions on Substack and Patreon.
Okay.
If you want to really dive in and support her work, a Substack subscription is $8 a month,
Okay.
and Patreon is a more affordable option at $1 a month.
And of course, there are free subscriptions too, so you can try it out before you decide to pay. It's a great way to see what it's all about and if it's something you connect with.
And remember, no matter which subscription you choose, you're supporting someone who's pushing the boundaries of storytelling
Yeah.
and making us think differently about how we value written content.
It's an investment not just in Liat's work, but in the future of creativity online.
Absolutely.
You know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Even though we're talking about paying for content, Liat's work is actually free for everyone right now.
It is.
It really shows how dedicated she is to making her stories accessible.
It does. She really wants to build a community
Yeah.
and share her work with as many people as possible. But she also knows that she needs a sustainable model.
Right.
Something that lets her keep creating without sacrificing quality.
It's a tricky balance, and she does it really well.
She does.
And I think that's what makes the Liat Show so compelling. It's not just a bunch of stories.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of a creator who's passionate about her work
Right.
and wants to build something truly special.
And it reminds us that behind every piece of writing, there's a real person,
Yeah.
a creator with a story to tell and a voice that deserves to be heard.
And sometimes supporting those voices means recognizing their value and being willing to invest in their success.
Exactly.
You know, in a world where we're constantly bombarded with content,
Yeah.
it's easy to forget the human element.
Right.
Liat reminds us of that.
She does.
Gently but consistently.
She does. Yeah. It's really cool how she's navigating this whole world of content creation, you know?
Yeah.
She's not afraid to try new things and find new ways to connect with people and share her point of view.
And she's building a global community.
Right.
We mentioned that people from 84 countries and 33 U.S. states are already listening.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible to see her work reaching such a diverse audience.
It really shows you the power of storytelling, you know? How it can go beyond borders and cultures.
Yeah.
Liet's stories, they touch on these universal themes like family, identity, belonging. But she also gives us this glimpse into a culture that many of us might not know much about.
It's like she's building a bridge between worlds.
Yeah.
Inviting us to step outside our comfort zones and experience something new.
Exactly.
And I think that's what makes her work so valuable.
Uh-huh.
It broadens our perspectives, challenges what we think we know, and ultimately helps us understand the world better.
I completely agree.
So for those of you who are interested in what you've heard today,
Yeah.
we encourage you to check out The Liet Show for yourselves.
Definitely.
You can find her on Substack, where a paid subscription is $8 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you prefer, you can support her on Patreon for just $1 a month.
Yeah.
And of course, there are always free subscriptions too.
Of course.
It's a great way to discover a really unique voice and support someone who's pushing the limits of storytelling in this digital age.
Absolutely.
And while you're at it, tell your friends about it.
Yes.
Share it on social media. Leave a review on Spotify if you're enjoying the podcast.
Right.
Every little bit helps.
Word of mouth is so powerful, especially for independent creators like Liet, who are building their audience organically.
Right.
Your recommendation could introduce someone to a whole new world.
That's true.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into The Liet Show, we want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
What role will you play in shaping the future of content creation? Will you be a passive consumer? Or will you actively support the creators who bring these stories to life?
That's a great question.
The choice is yours.
Yeah.
But we hope that today's conversation has made you think a little differently about the value of written content. And maybe consider supporting the artists and writers who make the digital world a more interesting and engaging place.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how she balances this whole, changing world of content creation.
Right.
She's not afraid to experiment.
Yeah.
And, try new ways to connect with her audience and share her perspective.
And she's building a global community.
Mm-hmm.
Remember earlier we mentioned listeners from 84 countries?
Yeah, that's incredible.
And 33 U.S. states are already tuning in.
It's amazing.
That's incredible to see her work resonate with such a diverse audience.
It really shows you how powerful storytelling can be, It can cross borders and cultures.
Yeah.
A lot of stories, they touch on these universal themes like family, identity, belonging.
Right.
But at the same time, she gives us this, glimpse into a culture that many of us might not be familiar with.
It's like she's building a bridge between worlds.
Yeah.
Inviting us to step outside our comfort zones.
Right.
And experience something new.
Exactly.
And I think that's what makes her work so valuable.
Yeah.
It broadens our perspectives, challenges our assumptions,
right.
and in the end, helps us understand the world better.
I couldn't agree more.
So for those of you who are intrigued by what you've heard today, we encourage you to explore The Liet Show for yourselves.
Definitely.
You can find her on Substack, where a paid subscription is $8 a month.
$8 a month.
Or if you prefer, you can support her on Patreon for just $1 a month.
Yeah, that's a great option.
And of course, there are always free subscriptions available too.
Of course.
It's a fantastic opportunity to discover a truly unique voice.
Right.
And support a creator who is really pushing the boundaries of storytelling in this digital age.
Absolutely.
And while you're at it, be sure to spread the word.
Yes, spread the word.
Tell your friends.
Tell everyone.
Share it on social media.
Yeah.
Leave a review on Spotify if you're enjoying the podcast.
Right, leave a review.
Every little bit helps.
Word of mouth is so powerful, especially for independent creators like Liet who are building their audience organically.
Yeah, it really is.
Your recommendation could introduce someone to a whole new world.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into The Liet Show, we want to leave you with this question. What role will you play in shaping the future of content creation?
That's a big question.
Will you be a passive consumer? Or will you actively support the creators who bring these stories to life?
I like that.
The choice is yours.
It is.
But we hope that today's conversation has inspired you to think a little bit more critically about the value of written content.
Yeah.
And to consider supporting the artists and writers who make the digital world a richer and more engaging place.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Yes, thank you for listening.
We'll see you next time.